Were you drinking coffee?
Yeah,
Me too.
like the good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Got some heavy creamer in there, a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
of sugar.
Yeah, we're both white.
Mm-hmm. Whitest girls.
White girls represent.
If I was a white girl, I'd have some
And
Starbucks right now.
you know what white girls love is Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn.
They do.
Can't get enough of it.
Something about Ike and Soren being paired together really
Yeah,
draws
man.
those girls.
You want to get you a snow bunny, just talk about the 2007 hit Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Something that freaked me out was realizing that this game came out before Brawl by like a year. I don't know why, but that just like fucked with my perception of like events, you know?
Uh-huh.
Because the Ike in that game is based on Path of Radiance.
Yeah, it is. They didn't have the big boy Ike until the later games.
Yeah.
So Radiant Dawn, I like this game a lot.
I like this game a lot.
Yeah, it's something about, you know, between like intelligent systems like the 7th game up to like the 10th game, they were really on ball in my opinion. They knew what they were doing. They had, you know, they were still making advanced war games.
Yeah.
They had some soul to them, you know.
Yeah, so why don't you tell your story about how you played it, because you played this one before Path of Radiance.
Yeah, I jumped straight in to the Radiant Dawn side. For better or worse, because they did the opposite thing that they normally do, and that is they made, for the Western release, they made the game harder, or they at least deceptively harder.
Yeah, I think they tricked us into making it harder. That's always been one of those things I found really weird, is when like they on purpose make it harder for the Western audience. I know there's been like Capcom games, like Devil May Cry 3 comes to mind. I'm pretty sure that game is like harder over here for no good reason.
Yeah, it's very rare when they do that. It's always usually the opposite, because they think we're really shit at video games or something. But yeah, so the first thing is like, you know, you still have your easy, normal, and then hard difficulty, which is actually locked when you start the game.
Yeah.
But like here in the West, those are the Japanese difficulties, but basically like swapped down one. Like our easy was their normal, our normal was their hard, and our hard was their maniac, whatever, which they just got rid of. And
there was also the thing, I'm pretty sure it does the whole like, oh, pick this difficulty if you're new to the series. So like when I played it, I was obviously like, well, I'm not that, so I'll play normal, which is actually a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, even I mean, this was actually the third Fire Emblem game I ever played. Yeah, because I played 7 Sacred Stones and then straight to this one. And that was I remember a very rough time. Because I was also young and I kind of like was really arrogant and refused to reset a lot of times.
Yeah.
So my Dawn Brigade, I lost at least like half. Like, I don't think Nolan like made it past chapter 3.
Damn. Yeah, chapter 3, like the one where you get Ilyana when you're busting out of the prison. That was the one that made me think, okay, like something's not right. Yeah. Because the previous chapters are like, they're kind of tough, but it's nothing too bad. But then you get to that, and it's like, something's weird.
Yeah, I remember the map where you go to the desert and you rescue like Toronto and Jill and everyone, and you meet Ellis. That was the chapter, which I think is chapter 4, that really like stomped me in.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only game where you're supposed to pick easy for the regular difficulty for some reason. And it's
don't know how that happened.
Yeah, and even like the easy isn't like. I mean, it's kind of easy like now, but it's not like baby mode.
Yeah, I find it gets easier the later you get into it, because you get just so many good units.
Yeah, and I mean, once you get the King Lagoozes and stuff, like almost every difficulty becomes pretty easy.
Yeah,
because they're just so damn good. So you want to talk about kind of the parts and stuff? Because this game is weird.
First, I actually want to talk about the data transfer thing, because I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cute little thing. Did you look into how it kind of works? Because it's a bit interesting.
Yeah.
For almost everyone, it's kind of a net positive thing where you can, if you have a save data of Path of Radiance, you can just transfer it over to Radiant Dawn, and instead of just like having the same stats, it just gives almost every unit a little boost if you have that stat capped, except for a couple exceptions, and one of those being Soothe.
Yeah, who's like one of the main protagonists of this fucking game.
Yeah, if you get him to level 20 in Path of Radiance, his stats are just directly transferred for better or worse.
Yeah.
Which is usually worse, because he's really good at base.
Mm-hmm. And plus, there's also, like, a lot of other more roundabout shit, like, the way you recruit certain people from the Daein side, I'm pretty sure you can only do if those characters supported each other in Path of Radiance. I think that's true. I might be wrong about that one. But I know that at least, like, the whole thing about Soren and learning the truth about him is a thing that you can only do if him and Ike had an A support in Path of Radiance, which is transferred over.
Jeez.
Yeah. Finding out the truth about that guy is like some Dark Souls secret. Yeah. Like, it doesn't sound true.
And you have to be on New Game Plus.
Yes.
And you got to do all the side stuff that you can only do in New Game Plus, like save Palace and a laundry list of things. That's something I've never actually done before. Like,
I have not either. I've only done one playthrough of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen, like, videos of the Peleus stuff. Peleus is, interesting.
The Blood Contract.
The Blood Pact. Oh my god.
Anyway, yes, speaking of Peleus, you know, the Dawn Brigade.
The Dawn Brigade.
The Honorable Dawn Brigade Bandits.
Yes.
As Laura calls it. What do we say about them?
I mean, I guess we gotta start with Micaiah.
Okay.
Because that's... So, I was thinking about this earlier in preparation for this video. Actually, why don't you go ahead and say, like, how you feel about Micaiah?
Micaiah has grown on me over time, actually. I really didn't like her at first, and I still am not crazy about her, but she's got some moments that, you know, that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly her strangely, like, every once in a while, sassy moments.
That is pretty funny, yeah.
Like, when she just calls, when she tells Sue, like, Ike is the father of his children. And where she just keeps getting annoyed whenever Ike is mentioned. Say, what do you got on her?
Yeah, so, like, I think my first time going through, the moment-to-moment with Micaiah is fine, but I think when you take a step back and look at kind of the totality of everything, that's when I start to not like her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about this earlier. I don't know if this was on purpose, but I feel like Micaiah is almost the inverse of Ike in every way, and that is why I fundamentally do not like her. Yeah, so Ike is just a guy. Ike is, like, nobody. And then you look at Micaiah, who's, like, almost more in line with, like, lord design philosophy of some of the other lords, where they are special, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think even Micaiah takes it to this level that's, like... A lot of people describe her as a Mary Sue, and I, like, half agree, but I think it's more just in terms of she's given so much. Like, she's just born good. You know, she has the whole healing thing that's like, oh my god, everybody's like, oh, it's so unique. Like, this is a thing only she can do.
Yeah. On that note, I mean, I had such a hard time, like, I know you gotta just, like, suspend, like, gameplay from story at a time, but I had such a hard time, like, buying, like how is that power so damn good? Like, okay, she doesn't need a staff. Whatever. Yeah. Like, not like staffs are, like, not common. I don't know, I was like, she's just a worst priest.
Yeah, yeah, it hurts her to do it. There is
nothing special about that power.
It's like being a guy that can use magic without a tome, but it, like, half kills you, and everybody's like, holy shit. It's like, it's not impressive.
Wow, you cured that dying person,
but now you're dying.
So good, Laura. And I don't remember, like, doing anything else special. Like, you know, it doesn't have, like, any other properties that besides just, like, its healing power.
Yeah.
I shouldn't diss our maiden.
Yeah, of course. Love the maiden. Yeah, that's another thing that I think kind of bugs me about her, is that she wins this adoration of the people so fast. Like, when you compare it to Ike had to hustle and grind and bust his ass across the entire fucking continent for a year, and he finishes his journey and there's still people there that still don't fucking like him.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, they kind of skip the build-up for Micaiah, because, like, you already start off, like, the Dawn Brigade is like the shit already. People are like, oh shit, you're the Dawn Brigade! Oh, the Silver-Haired Maiden! Like, right away, chapter 1.
Yeah.
And it's a bit weird, because, I mean, you're just 5 guys. Like, how are you this, like, famous freedom fighter group already? What have they done in the past? Like...
Yeah, I like the line when, like, I think this is in part 3, when Micaiah gets involved in the war, when Soren is like, yeah, they're like a weird cult.
Yeah,
like, worship her.
I love the different perspectives. Because to them, they're just like, oh, well, Dane's at it again.
Yeah. It's like, I can kind of get that, because, you know, historically, like, in our own real world, when shit goes really bad and some guy shows up and is like, I'm gonna kind of fix things, people tend to gravitate around that person, you know?
Yeah, and from everyone in Crimea's perspective, like, they just beat Dane 3 years ago. Now his son has risen up along with this like priestess maiden that everyone worships. There's probably some fuck shit going on there.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I think we can go more into Micaiah later on when we
she's like a constant force throughout this thing. So.
And then the only other one that matters, Sooth.
Sooth. Soth has like Soth. I flip flop between calling this guy different names all the fucking time. Yeah, Soth has. Is it fair to say he has no personality in this game? Like.
Yeah, he is Guardian.
Yeah, basically, he's like one of the like retainer characters you would have in previous games. He's just so. He's really not interesting.
I don't even think that's like. I think Marcus has got more going on than this guy, you know?
Yeah.
Like. Yeah, he doesn't have anything going. Like, he's just, I will protect you, Micaiah.
Yeah, his personality is just, I like Micaiah.
We should just bail, Micaiah. Fuck these guys. Let's go live in the desert.
Soth is unironically a smarter person than Micaiah is, which is kind of fucked up to think about.
Dude, he's got war experience. And he loves his boy Ike.
He does.
But not as much as Micaiah. And then there's Edward, Nolan, Leonardo. Anyway.
Yeah. Very forgettable. Like, I don't know if this is like a hot take or whatever, but I feel like if Radiant Dawn was just the new characters from Radiant Dawn, it would be probably the worst Fire Emblem cast in history.
So I think part of the fault has to do with, well, one, the game split up into 4 parts, and they don't get to be like the focus. Like they're only there for part 1, and then they make some appearances way later on.
Yeah,
and that there are not real supports in the game.
Yes.
If Edward or Nolan maybe had some support with other characters, especially even like some of the old Girl Mercenary characters.
Oh, that would have been great.
Then they might have had a chance, but they don't.
Yeah. You should probably explain the weird gutted support system.
Yeah, so this is...
So basically, characters don't have like conversation supports. They have these purely gameplay supports where they kind of link up to each other.
Yeah, some of them are like character unique ones, like Laura and the soldier guy,
Aaron.
They have some like unique lines to each other, and Sooth and Micaiah. But those are very few in between, and the rest are just like the generic.
Yeah, just how are you doing? Oh, I'm okay.
Because pretty much everyone can support everyone. I'm not entirely like from like each group at least. I haven't looked at otherwise, but like pretty much everyone can support with everyone, and it's just for the small gameplay boost of fighting next to each other, which I've never really like cared about in Fire Emblem.
Yeah, me either. It's not something I pay attention to, at least.
Yeah, I've always cared far more about just getting the supports I wanted than like the small like +5 crate or whatever.
Yeah,
it's a bit sad. And the only really way they kind of make up for it is with the base events, which are pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm glad they have those. Yeah, and that's the only real time you get to see stuff out of like the side characters is their base events. So yeah, those are my two. Those are 2 things why I think the Dawn Brigade just really don't shine.
Yeah, they're really not very interesting people.
And their designs are really bland.
Oh yeah, Leonardo and Edward especially. I get those 2 mixed up constantly.
Yeah, I only tell them apart because like I use Edward every once in a while. He's like the one of the few Dawn Brigades with potential. Their designs are like Nolan's the only one with an okay design.
I actually do like Nolan. Nolan is probably my favorite of the bunch.
If we're counting just the 5, then yeah. Or, I mean, not counting. I mean, Micaiah would be my favorite, but out of the 5, technically. But out of the 3, I like Nolan a bit more.
Yeah.
And they gotta spruce in some of the old cast, to keep it interesting.
Yeah, of all the people, the one character in the game with the best availability is fucking Ilyana.
I know, I love it.
Awesome. That's great. Like, good for you.
She's always there for you.
Yeah.
And she starts off so, like, over-leveled. Like, she starts off, like, level 12 when you get her.
Oh yeah, like when you transfer her, she's strong.
Yeah.
So the Dawn Brigade has some of the most lopsided, like, units I've ever seen in my life. Because, like, in the final battle, some of your options are like Meg, Fiona, like Leonardo, the Black Knight, like
The Wolf Queen.
The Wolf Queen.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you get a lot of endgame units mixed in with your, like, baby tier 1 units.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dawn Brigade are the only people that get tier 1 units in this game. It's kind of crazy. Because this game just starts off, like, really, really, like kind of late, except for the Dawn Brigade, that you have to grow up. You get Black Knight, Nayla, whatever, the Wolf Queen. You get Torrent, the general, Torneo for some chapters. Who's a little 14-something general. And you get Volug, who just eats your experience. Yeah, so how'd you feel about the Black Knight just joining?
That was awesome. That was the raddest shit.
His entire job is to protect Micaiah.
Yeah, that's like all he does.
He's like Sooth, but better.
Yeah, basically, she should fire him. Like, get him off of the Dawn Brigade's payroll.
Ooh, something I want to bring up before, though. One of the nice changes from Path Radiance Radiant Dawn is they've always had, like, the beginnings chapter introductions, but this one's got some nice narration.
Oh, yeah, I like the narrator a lot.
Oh, it's one of my favorite things. I wish they did it more. Just like a really nice beginning chapter summary.
Yeah.
Of, like, what's going on in the world.
Especially in, like, part 3, when the shit gets really intricate and, like, continent spanning. That's awesome.
Yeah. The beginning part narrations too are, like, especially longer and really great at just establishing what's going on. That's how I managed to play this game first and still kind of understand what was going on.
Yeah.
So they do a pretty good recap. But back onto the Radiant Dawn units, like, they are some of the weirdest units. Fiona, really weird unit.
Yeah.
Cavalier with magic, like, with not actual magic, but uses for the magic stat.
Also Meg, who's one of the best units of all time.
I would like you to define what best means.
Well, it means bad.
Oh, man. I like the idea of sword knights. Why it gotta be you?
Yeah, like, another thing that hurts, like, even if you want to say, okay, I want to use Fiona tough shit, because you kind of can't. You can only really use her, in part 1 after you get her, where there's only, like, 3 maps left.
Yeah.
And then sporadically in part 3, and then, like, in part 4. And are you really taking Fiona to the Goddess Tower? Like, are you really?
Yeah, when you have the entire Crimean Royal Knights.
And every Lagoose King.
So, what's your opinion on Jared?
He's, like, okay, here's the thing about Radiant Dawn, is I think Radiant Dawn has probably the best collection of villains in any, like, particular Fire Emblem game. Like, Path of Radiance is really fucking close. Like, Radiant Dawn has a nice selection of really sympathetic villains and some that are just some of the most hateable motherfuckers ever. And I feel like, in comparison, Jarrod is kind of plain. Like, I feel like he doesn't really lean in one particular direction. He does bad stuff. He kills his own men. He's kind of an asshole, but it was never enough for me to be like, oh, I hate this guy. Like, I never had a personal vendetta against him, But, like, when I look back at part 1, I think that the best thing about it was kind of this small town feel, I guess, of, like, this very focused individual conflict going on in one nation, Because I like that. I like the idea of, okay, you play this ragtag shit group of freedom fighters, and also the Black Knight, and, like, just liberate your homeland. Like, I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that is usually the plot to a good portion of the Fire Emblem games, but this was like, let's do that real quick, get that out of the way, and then we're gonna go into the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, as far as, like, kind of introductions go, it was good setup, and kind of necessary for what happens later.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you can't really start this game in part 2. You kind of need, like, a small scale thing.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the beauty of Radiant Dawn, is just how the shit escalates quicker and quicker as you go through it.
Part 2, otherwise known as, is it over already?
Yeah, part 2 is so fast. It's only, like, what, 5 or 6 maps? I think it's, like, 6.
I think it's 6 if you count endgame.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
Yeah. Like, I don't think this is, like, a controversial thing, but I think as a standalone story, part 2 is the best. Like, it has the least amount of writing problems. It goes a little quick, but it's also like the pacing's fine because it feels like kind of intense. It's like, all right, let's go, go.
And the chapters are pretty big.
Yeah,
especially the final two, where you're storming a fortress and then storming your own fortress.
Mm-hmm.
This one's focused on the secret third lord that everyone just kind of forgets about or like doesn't really view as a lord for some reason, which is weird because she's the only lord of the three.
Pretty much, yeah.
She's an actual queen, especially in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And the chapter is just focused on her and her country.
Yes. I like this chapter a lot. I really like the character selection that you're given, because it's a lot of these guys that they weren't really in the Grail mercenaries. They're kind of on the fringe, you know? They were like in the outside of Ike's inner circle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how after the game, like Path of Radiance, like everyone went on, did their thing. Like some stayed with the Grail mercenaries, like Mia, but Brahm and Ethne going back to the farm.
Yeah.
That's a weird first chapter. It's like, all right, how are we gonna revisit Crimea? Brahm, Nephany, rebellion.
Yeah.
Beat up some farmers. Yeah, and the chapter where you defend, endgame. That of part 2 is one of my favorite chapters.
I like that chapter a lot.
It's great, and you have this absolute ragtag group.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's like it's the weirdest fighting force. It's like, okay, we got Alencia and like the Crimean Knights, and then we have Har and Leanne and Lethe, and like it's just such a weird accumulation of people. It's awesome.
And before the beginning of the chapter is when like the knights are still out, so like you don't even have the Royal Knights. It's just like Alencia, Lethe, and Mordecai.
Yeah, it's like the backup force.
Yeah, Brahm and Nephany. Brahm and Nephany holding the line for the kingdom of Crimea. And I've always liked chapters where you have these, like, I think defense chapters are the best in Fire Emblem.
I like defense chapters a lot.
Because they have an excuse to throw waves and waves of enemies at you with no forgiveness because you just have to hold out.
Yeah.
And I really like having the very generic soldiers just kind of there, and I like watching like them battle and like go down and stuff. It feels like an actual like battle, because normally in Fire Emblem you just have your main squad and the enemy squad, and you pretty much never lose units, unless you're doing really hard to build whatever. But like you lose very few units throughout it, so it pretty much just like looks like you're genociding the enemy team. But when you have these generic goons that you have very limited control over, or sometimes none.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really makes it feel like a battle, and especially more so in part 3, but...
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's another quirk of Radiant Dawn, is how they love throwing just these big armies of, like, non-controllable units.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome, because, like, a lot of the time it's kind of hard to tell exactly how big the scale of these battles are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a game like, I don't know, like Fire Emblem Severn, for example, it's pretty clear your army is just this group, right?
Yeah. And as opposed to that in Awakening, they mention, like, actual numbers. Well, like, this is one of the first times they actually mentioned numbers. They actually mentioned, like, 1 million soldiers in, like, the guy's army or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to separate, like, the individual unit gameplay of Fire Emblem to the actual story, like, how big is this conflict kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think Radiant Dawn does a really good job of showing, like, these are actual wars with big armies and big numbers. Mm-hmm. Like, there's that one moment in part 3 where, like, Makai is throwing the rocks at people, and Soren's like, nice job, you've killed thousands of people.
Good job, idiot.
And Makai's like, I needed to save 10 people.
Yeah, that in the chapter where you're storming past peasants with the Crimean Knights. I love it. Every unit you have, even your generics, are promoted, and you're crushing through these unpromoted peasants. That feels like a charge. And it's crazy too, because like your actual units for that chapter, you have, I think, 6 units of your like personal units that you use.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy low for a Fire Emblem game. That's some starting casts are bigger than that. And,
also, you know what happens that pisses me off really bad in this part? Is that Makalov and Astrid are, like, dating.
Yeah!
I hate Makalov!
Low-key.
I hate him.
Low key.
It reminds me of the episode of Panty and Stocking when Stocking dates that fart ghost. That it has that same energy.
Absolute betrayal. Yeah, and man, he's not even close to redeemed in this, man.
No, he's just about as bad.
Silver lining, at least Devdan's doing well.
Yes. No, he's not.
I mean,
Devdan might be dead for all we know, but Danved is fine.
See, but I have a theory, alright?
Okay.
What if, follow me on this,
Mm-hmm.
they're the same person?
Explain further, Matt Pat.
Okay, so I looked in the files in the data in the mining. If you data transfer Dadvin or Den, whatever the path ratings one is,
Devdan.
the data transfer goes to the other one.
That might be a glitch.
I don't know, that the files don't lie.
There is actually a glitch where if you played Path of Radiance on easy and then did the data transfer, it'll like crash your game.
What?
Yeah, okay, so basically, because our easy Path of Radiance is like a new difficulty that wasn't in the original. So when you try to transfer that over to like the game, like Radiant Dawn, it just crashes because it has no idea what the fuck you're sending.
Oh, that's that's great.
Yeah. So all the babies that tried to play on easy and were like, I'll transfer my stuff. Fuck you, idiot. Game crash.
Now play this game with no easy difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what really sold me on because remember this is the first one I played. What sold me on the Grill Mercenaries was their first introduction to this game.
Dude, that scene was awesome. Like, in between when I finished Path of Radiance and when I got to that scene, I think maybe a month had passed, but I felt like it had actually been 3 years since I had seen them. I was so excited.
Yeah.
That's like one of the best scenes in the entire fucking game.
It's great.
It's awesome.
I love how Lagoos have this really shitty counterattack in their game.
Oh yeah, they changed the Lagoos, and now, like, at the cost of not being as good when they're transformed, now when they're in their humanoid forms, they, like, do this pussy little, like, punch counterattack that does nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just worthless.
Unless you're a king, then you do some damage.
Yeah.
And same for another very, very underpowered class, the healer.
Ah.
They also have a counterattack with their staff.
Yeah, that's right. Just give them a little bop.
It's so stupid. So yeah, the Girl Mercenaries, man, they're the coolest.
They're the coolest.
They're the coolest.
Who do you think is cooler, the Grail Mercenaries or the Akatsuki from Naruto?
I'm gonna have to go with the Grail Mercenaries on that one.
Yeah, me too. Who would win in a fight, the Grail Mercenaries or the Akatsuki?
Actually defeats a god.
Yeah, he does.
I don't fully... He tells a god to go pray to whatever they pray to.
That's such an alpha line. Dude, Ike is the most alpha motherfucker in this game. That's some of the best shit about Radiant Dawn, is just reading all the pre-battle quotes.
Yeah, that's the best part. And there's so many of them, too. They give them to, like, everyone that's, like, ever looked at each other before.
Yeah, it's great.
I was going to talk more about those in, like, when we start talking about part 3, because that's the entire part 3. So part 3, the real meat of the game.
Part 3 is the most peaks and valleys shit I've ever encountered in a Fire Emblem game. It has, like, I think my favorite chapter in any of these games that I've played yet, and it also has some of the stupidest fucking writing, like, ever.
Yeah, you're talking about Endgame, right?
Yes, and Part 3 Endgame is probably my favorite Fire Emblem chapter.
It's got an amazing name. It's called From Pain Awakening.
Whoa.
So yeah, part 3. What if those two armies you've been raising up from separate sides fought each other?
What if?
Unheard of at this time. There was no fates, there was no three houses. This was the first inter-party conflict. And I think it's a pretty good job. A little bit of nonsense.
See, I would half agree if the reason why Dayan was in the war wasn't the dumbest thing ever.
It's hard to engineer a good, valid reason for two, like, seemingly good-natured parties to fight.
Yeah.
They probably could have done a better job. I think, like, the actual meat of the war, like, makes up for.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I would say the politics and the general, like, the way the war plays out is the best in the entire game. Like, the first half of Part 3 is excellent. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, and there's and that part actually has like a valid reason what's going on. I mean, the Laguz Alliance are fighting the Benyans. That was so expected. Like that should have happened so long ago.
Yeah, like they were Path of Radiance, there was always the feeling that Benyan is ultimately like this is the threat. You know, like this is the problem nation. Really,
they are an empire and a theocracy.
Yeah,
that's
double the evil.
Yeah, and now that Oliver's out of the picture,
now they'll descend into chaos without his wisdom.
Yeah, without his high-quality taste.
He was the one holding that fucking place together.
I like how at the beginning, like, the Laguz Alliance versus the Benyans, the one smart person in the Laguz Alliance is like, yeah, we should hire some, the Grail mercenaries.
Yes.
They know how to fight.
They're fine working with us beasts.
Yeah, and, that first chapter where you just have the the beast army.
Oh yeah, the furry convention.
Yeah, and you have to like, you're basically playing an administrator for the furry convention. Got to make sure nothing gets out of hand.
Make sure the beasts don't nuzzle and wuzzle your chest. What would you do if Randolph came up and just nuzzle wuzzled your chest?
Why'd you pick Red? I like Red.
I do too. That's why I picked him.
In human form or cat form?
He's in his human form.
No, bro. Maybe if you're a cat. Maybe if you're a like 4 foot, 5 foot long cat.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird to think about it. They are huge cats.
They're very big.
And that other guy who is not the king but looks just like the king.
Yes, Skramir.
Yeah, I always think that's the king because
they look very similar. That's his nephew.
Yeah, nephew. If you're related in Fire Emblem, you gotta look exactly the same.
Yeah, of course.
Unless you're Ike and Mist for some reason, who look like almost nothing alike.
Yeah. Actually, I've never noticed this, but Mist has Grail's hair and Ike has his mom's hair.
Oh yeah,
the color. Yeah.
Don't you? Mist takes after her father so well, doesn't she?
Yeah, of course.
All right, so talk about this war.
Okay. So they hire the Grail mercenaries, and we get to see more of my beloved, precious boy Soren, who is just a delight. Like, in Path of Radiance, he would come up with these strategies that were more just kind of like common sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's the one mission where the guys are throwing rocks, and Soren's idea is like, let's avoid the rocks.
Like, master tactician.
Brilliant. And whereas in this game, he actually comes up with these, like, really intricate strategies, and, like, there's the one part where the Benyan forces are, like, all holed up, and they got the senators, and he's like, let's do a sneak attack and get the senators and make the army fall back, and then we can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. I really like his relationship with Skramir, because Skramir's like a typical Laguz, like, oh, let's just charge in, strategy is gay.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually he comes to, like, kind of like Soren and, like, his strategies.
Yeah.
And I think that's really funny when Skramir's like, make war, little human boy!
It's so fucking stupid.
And also my wonderful, trustworthy man, Nysala, is loyal, trustworthy, and doesn't betray anybody.
Scumbag.
Oh,
Human
he's the worst.
Scum.
He's totally the worst.
He doesn't really do anything bad in Path of Radiance. At least nothing no one knows about. Oh, I know. Never mind. Take it back. Never mind. You fucking, except for selling off the heron, but that's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like subhumans selling subhumans.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
This betrayal, like, kind of almost fucks them.
It basically fucks them. I remember when, like, I first read Tabar and was like, Nysala has betrayed us, I audibly went, Nysala, you motherfucker. I, like, said that.
So yeah, the first part, like, the first, like, 5 or so, 6 chapters, where you're playing as Grail mercenaries, fighting with the Laguz. All good wartime. And then the Dawn Brigade's gotta get in there somehow.
Yeah.
They gotta get their
Yeah.
piece of the cake. And, that first chapter, where you play as them in the Fog of War map, I think can be kind of likened to a horror movie.
Yeah, it is. Like, the atmosphere in those couple of chapters, because you fight in that same swamp, like, at least twice, is really good. Because it just sucks. Like, this is a miserable, shitty, dark swamp, and we're just killing each other.
Yeah. And like these lagoons are just like flying out of the swamps, just slaughtering your people as you're trying to get Meg to hold the line. It's so bad that the Black Knight has to warp in and be like, all right, guys, step aside. Also, man, the only time I've ever seen, the only instance I've ever seen where you can recruit your character to the enemy side.
That shit's awesome.
It's awesome until you accidentally do it and you bring your best unit over to the enemy side because fucking Zyhark is a stupid subhuman lever. Go ahead and take your time and think about this one.
Okay.
It's a bit of a tough one.
Sure.
Who do you like more? Lyra or Kai'Sa?
Oh, fuck. I mean, Lyra has, like, vagina privilege to where, like, I could at least fuck her, whereas Kai'Sa is, like, the most forgettable character in this game among new forgettable characters.
Yeah, any Laguz that's not, like, a big ruler or Ranulf, pretty forgettable.
Yeah.
And I'll give but yeah, these actual nobodies. And again, I chalk it up apart to the fact that they don't get any supports.
Yeah,
all their merit has to come straight from the story, like straight from the writing, and from like base conversations.
Yeah, and there's just not enough of that to go around.
Like
this is a pretty long game, but it's not the fucking Epic of Gilgamesh. Like the less important characters have to get put to the side.
Yeah, it looks deceptively longer than like when you first look at it, because you're like, oh, 4 parts, that's crazy. And it is big, but it's like a little over 40 chapters.
Yeah,
which is a big Fire Emblem game. I think it probably has the most individual chapters out of like any other game. I'm pretty sure it has more than 3 houses and stuff, even with the 3 parts or the 4 different stories.
Right, so I guess we've reached the point where we have to talk about the you-know-what, the Blood Pact.
Oh, Peleus.
Oh, Peleus, you silly goose.
Be my guess.
Alright, the first time I went through Radiant Dawn and the Blood Pact was introduced, I don't know if you ever have these moments where, like, the writing in something is really bad, and you just, it completely takes you out of the experience, and you start visualizing, like, the writer's room meeting of where this idea came from, you know? And I'm just imagining, like, the writers thinking, okay, we really want to have this game where Dayan and, like, Crimea and the Laguz, like, all have a big fight. How do we get Dayan involved? And eventually this thing was, like, their brilliant solution. So, the Blood Pact is just this not very well explained mystical piece of paper that binds 2 people to a contract. And if, like, the person that's subservient, because it is like a master-servant kind of contract, like, if they disobey, then a curse will be inflicted upon their nation, where once per day, a person will die, and every day following, the number will increase, so it'll go from, like, 2 people dead, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, and so on.
And it's kind of like it's like the rice on the chessboard thing, where it just... they all die in a matter of like a year. Yeah. Yeah, and wasn't this how, like, the entire Dane nobility died off before with Ashnard?
Yes. Ashnard, through some method, I don't remember exactly how, but he got the Blood Pact working so that it started just killing Dayan citizens.
He gamed the system.
Yeah. And, like, eventually he was the only one left.
So how do you feel about the kind of reasoning for Nasalia's betrayal?
I think no matter what, it's dumb, because when you look at the math of this shit, the first, like, month or so of, like, even beyond that, of the fucking Blood Pact working is meaningless. Because, okay, so, in the story, it is literally stated that Micaiah kills thousands of people with her rock ambush. And when you do the math on the Blood Pact, it adds, like, a person dies +1 every day, right?
Yeah.
So...
oh, right, like, yeah. It's 1 extra 1. It'd be an issue if it was doubling, but it's just adding
if it doubled, that would make more sense, actually.
Yeah,
but
that's how they should have done it.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any mathematical sense, because you could just win the fucking war in the time it would take for that to, amount to the losses from one battle.
And does the blood contract end if you kill the signer?
I think the way it works is you need to kill, like, the master in the pact relationship, because they kill Peleus and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
They need to kill the guy that's in charge. And another thing about it is just, like, the mechanics of the pact are so poorly explained to where you can just pick apart, like, little details about it, because you never actually see the writing on the pact, you know? So you never know the specific rules of how it works. Like, how does the piece of paper know, like, what country it's supposed to affect, you know?
I always thought it was, like, like, the guy that made the blood contract is just like, all right, now start killing people. But is it actually, like, self-initiated? I forget. Or is it just, like, automatic?
I'm pretty sure it's just an automatic thing.
Oh, jeez.
Or it might actually be whenever the master in the contract relationship decides it's time for the thing to start.
Yeah, that's how I thought it was. He's just like, all right, fuck you. People start dying. So the only way, I think the person that's in control just kind of picks the rules.
Yeah.
Their dumb magic blood contract bullshit.
Yeah, it's such a powerful form of magic in this series where the rest of magic is like, oh, fireball, heal, like, oh, teleport a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we have the Blood Pact, which is just like, genocide.
Yeah, and, like, okay, so here's the thing. Why does, like, the king, so it has to... So would the blood contract only affect if the king of the nation signed it, and would it only kill those citizens?
Yeah, like, that's something I was wondering about is, okay, let's just say I'm a Dayan citizen when the Blood Pact starts. What happens when I move to Crimea?
Well, you have to wait for the papers to go through. Maybe there's, like, official documentation for everyone. Everyone's, like, you know, officially recognized citizens of everything.
Does the paper have access to these documents?
Yeah, I think so.
And also, it's like the way they die is not an illness. They just drop dead.
I think that's the best part.
Yeah, it's like the Death Note, but it doesn't give you a heart attack. Like, you just die. And yeah, it really is the mechanics of the thing are so poorly explained. Like, to compare it to the Death Note again, the Death Note has so many rules and shit to where, like, if one fell into the human world, we would understand how the fucking thing works. Whereas if a blood pact just fell onto this earth, we would have no fucking idea how this thing functions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, like, it's strange. Like, okay, so if it has to be the king, like, what was stopping him from, like, stepping down and no longer being recognized as, like, a king? And if it's not affected by the king, then you can get anybody to sign that contract and start genociding the world.
Well, we know from Naisala and Kilvas that there is an inheritance to it, because the previous king of Kilvas died, and Naisala kind of inherited the contract. So I guess, like, the one that he signed was, like, part of the clause was every king of Kilvas inherits it. So I guess, like, even if Peleus died, like, yeah, Peleus died and Micaiah inherited the thing.
Kilvas just didn't, like, plot to take out, was it Lacane or whatever?
It was Lacane. Yeah, Lacane is the guy that knows how to make these things.
Because he's a Benyan senator.
I guess, yeah. Like, why isn't everybody just making these? These are the greatest weapons of mass murder in human history.
And you gotta get a stupid person to sign it.
Yeah, you have to get somebody that just doesn't read it, I guess.
It's just so weirdly, like, vague, but we get war because of it.
Yeah, so war happened because of it.
And forced betrayals, and is nothing in this world real? Like,
also, the way Micaiah handles it, like, I think that's the thing about her character that drives me fucking mental. Like, in the last one, I talked about how much I liked Ike's approach to things. He was very down-to-earth, very practical, very, like, let's just get this shit done. Whereas Micaiah is so much more roundabout and, like, she just doesn't think about shit very thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
Also, here's a cheeky little Blood Pact clause. The original master of a Blood Pact can be overruled if that master happens to be subject to somebody else and the bound party is able to follow the commands of the Master Superior while neglecting those of the Master. For instance, Naisala's Blood Pact had him in servitude to Lakain, but the orders of Sanaki outranked Lakain in the Law of Benyon, which took precedence over Lakain's orders as far as the Blood Pact was concerned.
What? What? What does that even mean?
Yeah, so, okay, like, if you take Naisala in Part 4 and you have him attack Lakain, there's this dialogue about how, because Naisala is working for Sanaki, and Sanaki ranks above Lakain, the Blood Pact no longer works.
But doesn't that mean Sanaki could have stopped Lakain's... Wait. Who does, Shit. Who's got the blood contract with Peleus?
Lakain.
Couldn't she...
Lakain is the only one with the Blood Pact.
Yeah, couldn't she have just been like, yeah, don't do that? What?
No, because it has to be the subservient one has to be taking orders from the person who's of a higher authority. So, like, if Peleus superseded control of Daein to Sanaki, I guess.
Did he just not think of that?
I mean, he was under the impression if he killed himself, it would stop, and that didn't work.
Alright, yeah. I mean, I can't really... It's hard to blame him, because, like, we're having a hard time understanding this bullshit with our, like, foresight and, like, knowledge, and he's just like, dude, I don't know anything. I'll just kill myself.
Yeah, that bugs the shit out of me, because it's like, there's no physical, like... That's meaningless. The idea of, like, superseding somebody's authority.
Peleus should have just asked to, like, see the contract again. Be like, can I reread that? Find a loop. Can I take another look at that blood contract? Yeah. I think there's a loophole in there somewhere.
And just yoink, rip.
Yeah, I bet if you would have ripped it in half, just done. Send Soothe into Lakain's house, find the contract, rip it up.
The Blood Pact is a fucking complete mess. Like...
Why the fuck did anyone sign it? Like, why?
Well, Peleus signed it because he's retarded. And Izuku was just like, this is fine, sign it.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay.
Izuku, definitely not... Oh, we didn't even mention...
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
Izuku shows up for, like, one chapter in Path of Radiance as this very minor, like, antagonist, I guess, that you never even run into.
Uh-huh.
And then in Radiant Dawn, he's, like, one of the main threats. Like...
I don't think there's a more, like, comically evil guy working on your side. Like...
God, he's so evil.
In history, like, ever. I cannot think of anyone that is more comically evil. And you know, like, they're not gonna do the big twist on Fire Emblem. Like, they're not gonna be like, oh, actually, he's a good guy, but he's seen as a villain. He's like, Machiavellian style, fucking... No, because he's stupid. He's also stupid. Like, he's a horrible tactician, horrible strategist.
Awful.
He's comically evil. There's nothing redeeming about him. Not even from a comedic standpoint. Almost, like, it's almost comedic on how, like, on just how no one just... I mean, people even, like, the entire cast realizes he's a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah. Like, they just grill him in the fucking, like, the group meetings.
Yeah, man. Dude, Tormund should have just roasted him. Tormund should have just snapped his fingers, used some alchemy, and ignited him.
Just Roy Mustang his ass.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. Also, Almeda is a character we didn't mention. Almeda is a fucking psycho. That bitch is crazy.
So yeah, it's the best part is seeing the dialogue of all, like, basically everyone that was a girl mercenary at one point has dialogue with each other if they're fighting.
Yeah.
Fucking Ileana and the Wolf Queen have dialogue. And she's like, Nelly is like, you have magic. You may stand a chance. Yeah, and most of Ileana's is still like, yeah, let's finish this fight so I can go eat.
Oh, I wanted to say the fucking quote she has in, like, when she's introduced, where she's like, the food here was terrible. They will pay. It's like the actual war stuff going on, like the tactics and the situations and all, it's all good. It's just the reason why it's happening just feels so forced, I guess. Like the Daein part, is...
Can't you say that about all wars? There's no justification.
That's true. It's really deep. Except I don't think World War II involved the Blood Pact. I mean, maybe it did. Shit, I don't know.
We don't know. I wish that was like one of those like conspiracy like Hitler conspiracy shows.
You think Emperor Tojo was like under a Blood Pact from Hitler?
I think there's no other reason, like no other explanation for his actions.
Why else would they bomb Pearl Harbor like that? Like, why else would they just fucking fight the strongest superpower in the world just for the fuck of it? Yeah.
Yep. And they refused to surrender no matter what.
That's right.
And it wasn't until a big bomb was dropped. He's like, oh shit! Actually, that bomb killed 18 years worth of blood contract. Oh, dude, oh my god, oh shit, that's even more actually. It's like 100 years of blood contract waiting.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm laughing about deaths, but
I mean, that's what Radiant Dawn does to you. You gotta laugh about it at some point.
Yeah. So someone do the math. How many deaths is that?
Yeah, how many blood packs would the fucking Nagasaki and Hiroshima equate to?
I almost want to say that's a translation. Like, I really hope that's a translation. I don't think it is, but I want to.
You want to believe?
Yeah, because that trope is always supposed to be like that. Like thing is always supposed to be like you double the number. Because then you get or you square, but that's exponential gains. But like that's where shit becomes bad. But it's just like one extra day. Yeah, people are dying, but so is.
But like you've just killed 1,000 people with the rocks. Like you're not better.
But they're not noble deaths. Like in war, getting crushed by rocks. There's no honor in that. You ever seen a chapter in Fire Emblem where the goal's not the route, the goal's not to capture, it's to kill X enemies?
Yeah.
Just kill this many. There's too many to actually kill, but just kill as many as you can.
That chapter is so fucking good.
The death counter.
The death counter. That thing is great.
Yeah.
Because like it's really easy to lose track of how many people die in these battles.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like in this one, the thing goes up and up and up until it reaches like I think it's like what 100.
80 is when the shit happens.
Yeah, it's like that shit's so good, and all the little cutscenes play when it reaches certain milestones. It's like, oh, it's such a good fucking chapter.
Because that's when shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Building up, but like no one can do anything about it. Alencia can't run in the middle of this battlefield and stop it. You know what? Fuck Makai. I like Alencia more. Alencia's.
I also like Alencia more. She has a better head on her shoulders than fucking Makai.
Yeah, because Alencia is also kind of like the contrast to Ike, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Like they both still grow and like grow as people, but it's just they come from different like the opposite backgrounds, kind of.
Like Alencia is definitely more empathetic than Ike, and Micaiah has this like retard empathy that's like I will save the 10 people that makes me feel good, but kill the 1,000 people that like I don't really care about as much. It's like I get it, she's fighting for Dayan, but she isn't because she's Benyan's bitch.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Oh man, you know the first thing I do when I get independent is I immediately serve the person I broke away from.
That's right! She spends the whole fucking time being like, we're gonna beat back Benyan! And then she's like, yes, Benyan! Shall I cup the balls for you, Benyan? Yes. Like,
so yeah, people die. A lot of people die.
A lot of people.
We don't have solid numbers, but I would say it's about probably 150 or anywhere from 150 to like 10,000 days of blood contracting.
Yeah, about that much.
If you count just stay inside, which I guess that's what they would care about, it's still at least 100 plus minimum years. And then the goddess is reborn, and now we jump over to an endgame Fire Emblem. But instead of being one chapter, it's an entire part, which is interesting. Yep. Instead of a dragon god thingy, it's just a big old god.
Girl.
Yeah. Yuna.
So Yune.
Yune.
So I really like the subversion of like Yune is not an inherently malicious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just represents chaos and like You know, the dark side of existence, basically.
Yeah.
And it really bucks the trend of, like, because all of Path of Radiance, you're told the Dark God is bad, don't let out the Dark God, it's not a good thing. And, like, just based on previous Fire Emblem experience, yeah, that makes sense. The whatever's in here is bad. And then Radiant Dawn comes along, and it's like, the Dark God is bad, kinda, but the good God is vastly worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real problem. You remember the fucking scene where Ike and Ranulph are talking, and Ranulph is just like, also, Zeldris is the Black Knight?
By the way.
Just thought I'd let you know.
That is a really cool small thing, though, is that Zelgius fights with the same fighting style as Black Knight. Like, their attack animations are similar, or sometimes the same.
Yeah. I think, doesn't he do the Astra on him both times?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a bit of a giveaway, Zelgius.
Mm-hmm. Well, he can't stop it, man. It's a set % skill chance, and it just
happens. It just happens. And then you split up again into 3 groups. And when I saw that fucking screen where you get to, like, individually sort out your units, I was like, fuck yeah, this is awesome.
Uh-huh. How shall I balance the power?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool being able to do that. And it's a way to try and give more value, like, some of the lesser used units. Because otherwise, I mean, at that point in the game, you've got 10 units that just are unstoppable. And so you gotta actually, it gives you a reason to use some of the small ones, you know.
So the best fucking part of part 4 is getting to recruit my man Oliver.
Yeah, baby.
That part is so fucking funny because, like, the one senator, what the hell is his name? Hetzel? Hetzel shows up at Oliver's mansion, who they've just been keeping, like, in hiding and alive. And Hetzel's like, please don't fuck this up. Like, really? And if you bring Raphael close to him, he'll just completely shit and lose his mind.
It's so good.
And be like, he's like, I'm with you guys. Like, you got the Herons.
Dude, the guy knows what he wants. I can respect a man like that.
I like the fucking battle quote he has against Sephirin. And Sephirin is like, Oliver, good to see you here. On the other side, no less. And then he just rambles on about beauty. And Sephirin is like, judgment can't come soon enough. The world is tearing apart at the seams. Yeah, the first, like, half of it is pretty much just the 3 groups, like, moving towards the tower. But I do like some of the, like, units, I guess, that they got paired together, because they do pick some kind of weird groupings.
Yeah.
Like, Nysala and Sanaki are part of a team, and then, like, Tabarn is with Alincia, so it's just interesting. Like, obviously, Soth and Makai are together, like, Ike and Soren are together, but other than that, it's pretty interesting the groups that were picked by Yune. Because Yune herself is the one that, like, organized these teams.
Yeah. I love how, like, she just kind of just takes over Makai's body whenever Sooth is like,
Yeah.
don't do that! Stop it!
What the fuck? Also, Soth turns into a Whisper, which is the coolest fucking name for a class ever.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, then there's the Tower, which is just like this fucking gauntlet of all the antagonists, like back to back to back.
It was like the Path of Radiance chapter where you're like chasing down Oliver, but just on steroids.
Yeah.
It's just like, because you don't even know. It's like, all right, you beat this one. Next. How'd you feel about fighting the old dragon, though?
Just, yeah, you know, just every dragon. It's just in the tower.
I was fine with it because this is where Ileana shines.
Yeah, baby, the Dragon
She's
Slayer.
been waiting all game to slay some dragons.
You know who I love is Zeldris' fucking lackey Lavale, who's just like, he's such a beta. I like the quote he has with Har, where Lavale is like, Zeldris is the last true knight. I would die for him. And fucking Har goes, yes, Lavale, you will. That shit is so wrong. And then we got my man Sephirin. And I actually like Sephirin a lot. I'd say I like him about as much as Ajnard, actually. Because Sephirin is like, he's kind of Ajnard's like mirror opposite, because Ajnard was just like, let's just plunge the world into fucking chaos and rock and roll. Whereas Sephirin's like, the world is awful, let's like just make everything stop.
I'm tired of living.
So they're kind of like a Law and Chaos sort of thing going on.
Yeah. I mean, Severin did go through a lot of shit. I mean, he's a Benyon. Well, he's not a senator. He's a Benyon
Prime Minister.
So he had to deal with all the Benyon senators.
Oh my god, I would go insane.
Imagine having to be there for every single one of Oliver's. I like to think every single time at every meeting, Oliver just like stood up and started talking about beauty.
Maharons.
And so I got a new painting today, and it's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, it's wonderful. Just wonderful.
Anyway, when are we gonna kill those Laguzas?
Well, yes.
Those subhumans.
Oh, it'll be beautiful.
What was his take on the Heron slaughter? Was he there for?
Well, the thing was orchestrated by Lacane.
Yeah.
So Oliver probably had no real say in it.
Yeah, he probably didn't really know what a Heron was before then. He was just like, oh, it's just a subhuman.
Oh, subhuman.
Read about it in the paper, and then he realized his mistake.
Yeah.
Dude, if Oliver would have known, he would have single-handedly stopped the destruction of the Herons.
He would have ended racism. He would have passed bills into law that were like, no racism.
Stop it. Fuck, I want to know what Oliver's epilogue is. I don't remember what it is.
Oh, he dedicates himself to the arts. Like, he's the only senator that survives.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of them get fucking killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oliver followed his calling as a guardian of beauty by sponsoring many artists, especially those who depicted him. See, I love the idea of, like, Sanaki and her right-hand man, Duke Oliver. That's really funny to think about.
Dude, the continent of Tellius had a renaissance after that. After Radiant Dawn.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure they entered a golden age. I mean, fuck Ike, the radiant hero. What about Oliver?
Yeah. Now that the wartime's over, Ike, you have no purpose.
Yeah.
It is Oliver's time to shine.
And then you fight Ashura, where the fucking barrier is, like, more dangerous than Ashura herself.
Yeah, for a goddess, you know, she definitely holds a candle to the people that she created. I mean, the Lagoose beasts just tear through, like, just...
Yeah, like, Deginsia is way scarier than she is.
Yeah. Just throw the barn, and just watch him die. Like, watch her die. Watch the barrier just delete.
So, what do you think about Part 4?
I think it was good. I think it was a really good ending to all the show's going on. I'm usually not a big fan of how quickly it's, you know, Fire Emblem tends to be like, alright, you're doing a big war, you're fighting the big bad guy, and then a dragon or a god.
Damn big dragon.
And go kill that real quick. It's usually in the same chapter, but this has a nice build up to it, and it feels way more dramatic and like built up, and like there's more shit to it. I mean, it's a part of the game. Yeah,
definitely. It's sure as fuck more consistent than Part 3.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say Part 2 and Part 4 are the consistent parts of the game, where the writing is, like, pretty good generally.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Part 1 and 3 are kind of the problem children. I don't know about you, but when I got to the ending, like, when all the individual character endings start playing, I was actually, like, really upset. Because I feel like this was the first Fire Emblem, like, grouping of games, I guess, where I felt genuinely, like, really, really attached to the characters and the setting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I almost didn't want to see it end, you know?
Yeah. Especially when you've got, like, 2 full games of like, invested in the characters.
Yeah.
And Radiant Dawn especially is a journey. And like,
yeah, especially when you combine it with, like, Path of Radiance. Because they really are 2 halves of the same story, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like... I mean, it really does feel like you go Path of Radiance, Dawn, like, I mean, it's to grow mercenaries, like, growing. And you bring them from, like, you know, beginning jobbers all the way up to 3rd-tier units, which I think are awesome.
Yeah, those are really cool. So where would you rank Radiant Dawn in your, like, your Fire Emblem rankings?
As a standalone?
I mean, it's kind of hard to be like Radiant Dawn but ignore Path of Radiance, you know?
Yeah, but I don't know, I think you have to rate them, like, I mean, like, you can still rate them on their own.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if I rank them together, I mean, they're just, like, they're still my absolute favorite, like, together.
Yeah.
On the individual level, I think Radiant Dawn is my 2nd favorite of all the Fire Emblem games. But 3 Houses is still pending.
Yeah, I would say for me it's number 3, but that's pretty much carried on the fact that it is Tellius, you know, and it is a continuation of Path of Radiance.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said earlier, if this was just the Dawn Brigade and just, like, new Radiant Dawn characters, it would be miserable. So I would say it's my number 3. I think not Path of Radiance, Three Houses just barely beats it out, but it's still, like, really, really good. I really enjoyed it, with its problems and all. But I don't know, I guess that's part of the charm, is that, like, it is kind of a mess at points.
Yeah, I mean, usually for Fire Emblem games, like, the writing and the story and stuff isn't my main focus of it. But with the Telios games, they are. And so it's weird for, like, there's Radiant Dawn where it's got its issues, but it still has a lot of really great like, writing parts to it in the story.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, the highs of this game are some of the best, like, of all of them.
Yeah.
Like, if the entire game was written as well as the first, like, half of Part 3, it would be fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just, like, it has these valleys that are just hard to not think about. And that's what I think really keeps it from being, like, one of the best in my mind. But everything else, like the characters, the gameplay, the setting is still great. Like, all that stuff is good. It's just some of these story moments are, like, wonky.
But third-tier classes, man, they're just so
But
cool.
Third-tier classes, though!
I genuinely love that so much.
That is really cool. Yeah, Radiant Dawn's good. Go pick it up at your local GameStop.
Yeah, go pick up Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn.
Yeah, together.
Yeah, and play them both, because if you play them both, transfer your data over for bonuses.
Yeah.
Oh, but then you have to get the you have to get a link cable, and then you have to get the GBA Fire Emblem games, because you can data transfer to Path of Radiance for some extra items.
That's right. Yeah, you can do that.
So yeah, go get every GBA Fire Emblem, including 6. And then
get that one
and then
too.
Path of Radiance, and then Radiant Dawn, and go play them all.